You may not realize it, but there is a battle happening inside you right now. A silent war between who you are and who you are capable of becoming. Every day your mind is pulled in 1,000 directions, and your heart feels the weight of unfulfilled dreams, unanswered prayers, and quiet fears that you dare not speak aloud. You wake up with intentions to grow, to improve, to align your life with your highest purpose. Yet by the end of the day, you feel stuck, exhausted, and disappointed in yourself. The tension between desire and reality is not a coincidence. It is a signal, a calling from your deepest self and from God, urging you to step into a level of awareness that most people never reach. You are not here by accident. There is a reason you feel this unease, this constant pull toward something more, something greater than the routines, obligations, and distractions that fill your day. That inner restlessness is the whisper of a higher purpose. The struggle you feel is the first sign that you are ready to awaken to a life where your spiritual and personal growth are no longer separate, but aligned in harmony. Many people spend their lives chasing external validation, climbing invisible ladders, collecting achievements that ultimately leave them hollow because they ignore this inner call. They fight against the current of their own souls, hoping that life will reward them without introspection, without conscious alignment with the truth within them. But your life cannot change until you confront this hidden battle, until you acknowledge the fear, the doubt, the procrastination, the insecurities that secretly govern your decisions. Every unresolved question, every lingering what if, is a doorway to self-mastery if you are willing to step through it. And the truth is, you are not alone in this struggle. Every person who has ever achieved fulfillment has faced the same moments of internal conflict. The difference is not in the absence of fear or struggle, but in the willingness to face it, to embrace it, and to transform it into action guided by faith, clarity, and determination. This is why spirituality and personal development are inseparable. Growth is not just about achieving goals or acquiring knowledge. It is about cultivating the internal compass that guides you toward alignment with your true self and the divine purpose for your life. When you ignore the battle within, you wander aimlessly, repeating the same patterns, experiencing temporary highs, and enduring inevitable lows. But when you confront it, when you deliberately choose to listen to the whispers of your conscience, to follow the nudges of your faith, you step into a rhythm of life that is unstoppable, resilient, and deeply fulfilling. Today, you are invited to enter that space, to pause, reflect, and recognize that the dissatisfaction, the pressure, and the inner conflict are not obstacles to fear. They are invitations to awaken. The questions you have avoided, the doubts you have ignored, the dreams you have postponed, all contain the keys to your transformation. And as you watch this video, it is not by chance. Something within you, a spark that refuses to be extinguished, has drawn you here. You are ready to begin a journey where spiritual clarity fuels personal growth, where faith informs action, and where the life you have always imagined is no longer a distant dream, but a tangible reality waiting for you to claim it. This is the moment where the inner battle shifts from a source of frustration to a source of power, where tension becomes energy and doubt transforms into direction. You are about to learn not just how to live, but how to live intentionally, with a purpose that resonates through every choice, every thought, every step you take. The journey ahead is not easy. Growth never is, but it is necessary. And it is available to anyone who decides to stop running from the battle inside and instead face it head on. And before you go, remember this: if these words have spoken to you, if they have awakened something inside, don't keep it to yourself. Subscribe now to this channel so you never miss the guidance you need for your journey. Like this video to let the message reach more people who are fighting the same silent battle, and share it with someone who needs to hear these truths today. Together we can build a movement of light, faith, and transformation. The inner compass that never lies. Inside each of us lies an inner compass, a guide that never lies, though we often ignore its quiet whispers. It is the part of you that instinctively knows the right path, the voice that stirs when a decision feels off, the tug that pulls you toward choices aligned with your true purpose. Yet, in a world of constant noise, social pressures, opinions, distractions, and endless tasks, we have been trained to doubt it, to silence it, and to replace it with convenience or the approval of others. This inner compass is not just intuition. It is the intersection of conscience, divine guidance, and personal wisdom. It is God's voice speaking through your heart, your awareness, and your capacity to discern what is true and meaningful. When you follow it, your life begins to flow in alignment with your purpose. Your actions resonate with clarity, integrity, and fulfillment. When you ignore it, confusion, regret, and emptiness follow, often disguised as temporary comfort or worldly success. Many people measure their choices by outcomes alone, assuming that external validation or material reward is the ultimate indicator of being on the right path. They ignore the subtle signals within that indicate a misalignment between their actions and their soul's true calling. The problem is that these signals are quiet, requiring intentional stillness, reflection, and courage to hear. Your inner compass never demands grand gestures. It does not shout. It nudges persistently, and waits patiently for you to listen. The challenge is that you have been conditioned to overlook it, to prioritize immediate gratification, or to fear what it asks of you. It may ask for honesty in relationships where lies have grown comfortable, for courage to step into a calling that feels intimidating, or for faith to trust a path unseen. Each time you choose to ignore it, you create a distance between yourself and the life you were meant to lead. But every time you choose to act in alignment, a subtle yet profound shift occurs. Your decisions gain clarity. Your mind is lighter. Your heart feels more at peace. You begin to notice opportunities that previously went unseen. Doors open where walls once stood, and people who resonate with your purpose enter your life naturally. This compass is not arbitrary. It operates according to eternal principles. Integrity, love, humility, perseverance, and faith are its coordinates. When you measure your choices against these markers, you cannot go astray. Acting against it brings inner tension, spiritual unrest, and the sense that something essential is missing. Acting with it brings harmony, confidence, and a deep, enduring satisfaction that transcends material gain or societal approval. The truth is, many people spend decades trying to achieve success without consulting this inner guide. They chase wealth, status, or recognition, only to discover that their lives are hollow because they are out of alignment with who they truly are and what they are truly called to do. The path to fulfillment is not found in external measures, but in listening, trusting, and following the compass that is built into your very being. The challenge is consistent action. Every day, in small decisions, you are presented with a choice: to ignore the compass and follow fleeting impulses, or to heed its direction and step into a life of purpose. Each choice strengthens it or weakens it. Each choice is an investment in your clarity and your future. And the most profound realization is this: the inner compass is designed to guide you to your highest good, but only if you respect it, nurture it, and act in accordance with its guidance. It will never mislead you, never betray you, and never abandon you. It is faithful, precise, and patient, waiting for the moment you decide to stop listening to the chaos outside and start listening to the truth inside. This compass is the silent force that can transform ordinary life into extraordinary living when honored. It is a gift, a responsibility, and a doorway to alignment with your purpose, your calling, and the divine path laid out for you. Every step you take following it brings you closer to clarity, fulfillment, and the life you were created to live. The silent weight of invisible chains. Most people go through life unaware that they are carrying invisible chains, weights that subtly bind their thoughts, choices, and potential. These chains are not physical. They are mental, emotional, and spiritual. They take the form of limiting beliefs, past traumas, fears of failure, and patterns that have been silently reinforced over years. You may think you are free, making conscious decisions, pursuing your goals, and living intentionally, but these unseen chains dictate far more than you realize. They whisper doubt when you try to act boldly. They stir anxiety when opportunity arises, and they hold your dreams hostage under the guise of safety and comfort. The truth is, these chains are older than you, formed long before you understood their presence. They are the echoes of childhood experiences, societal pressures, the fear of judgment, and the lessons absorbed from those around you. They operate silently, subtly, like currents beneath calm waters, pulling you off course while you think you are moving forward. Spirituality and personal development teach us that freedom is possible, but only when these hidden weights are recognized, confronted, and released. Awareness is the first step. Naming the chains, acknowledging their existence, and understanding their origin is crucial. Many people resist this process because it is uncomfortable, because it forces them to face the parts of themselves they would rather ignore. But avoidance strengthens these chains. keeping the soul confined within patterns of limitation, self-doubt, and spiritual stagnation. These invisible chains often manifest as recurring struggles: procrastination when action is necessary, self-sabotage when progress is within reach, fear of judgment when vulnerability is required, or a persistent feeling that no matter what you do, it is never enough. They also appear in relationships, finances, and personal growth, subtly influencing decisions that seem rational but are rooted in old wounds or insecurities. The powerful realization is that these chains are not invincible. You can loosen them by addressing the underlying causes, whether through reflection, spiritual alignment, prayer, or intentional action. Each chain broken allows more energy, clarity, and confidence to flow into your life. Freedom does not require perfection. It requires courage. Courage to face the internal barriers, to step into discomfort, and to release the patterns that no longer serve you. Spiritual principles emphasize that liberation is not only psychological, but divine. As you align with truth, integrity, and faith, these chains begin to dissolve because they cannot withstand the light of awareness and purpose. Personal development complements this by teaching practical tools to recognize triggers, retrain the mind, and replace old patterns with empowered habits. Every small victory against these invisible chains reinforces the next, creating momentum toward a life unbound by fear, regret, or limitation. The process is gradual. Some chains may fall quickly, while others require persistence, reflection, and faith. But each step forward is proof that transformation is real, that you are capable of rising above circumstances, and that you were never meant to be confined. Understand this: you are not the chains you carry. You are the conscious being who can recognize them, act against them, and reclaim control over your mind, your emotions, and your destiny. And as you do, life begins to change. Opportunities appear where before there were obstacles. Clarity replaces confusion. Confidence takes the place of hesitation. Peace fills the void where fear once lived. This freedom is not a one-time event. It is a journey. A journey of awareness, of faith, and of daily choices that prioritize truth over comfort, courage over fear, and alignment over convenience. The invisible chains can only hold you if you allow them. The moment you decide to confront them, acknowledge them, and release them, the weight lifts, and you step into a life of expansive possibility. You begin to see that limitations were never a permanent part of you. They were lessons, signals, and invitations to awaken. You are capable of breaking free. The silent weight that once pulled you down can now propel you forward, guiding you toward purpose, clarity, and spiritual fulfillment. The power of sacred stillness in a world filled with noise, distractions, and constant demands, stillness has become a rare and powerful tool. Sacred stillness is not mere idleness or avoidance of life. It is an intentional pause, a deliberate act of aligning your mind, heart, and spirit. It is the space where clarity emerges, where the whispers of your inner compass become audible, and where true transformation begins. Most people fear stillness because it forces them to confront themselves, their doubts, insecurities, and unhealed wounds. It is in these quiet moments that the truth about who we are and what we truly desire can no longer be ignored. Sacred stillness requires courage because it strips away distractions and exposes the reality of our choices, our patterns, and our alignment with purpose. Yet it is precisely this exposure that brings liberation. When you sit in silence, whether through prayer, meditation, or mindful reflection, you create a space for divine insight to enter your life. Thoughts that once felt chaotic begin to organize. Decisions that felt impossible now have clarity. Emotions that were overwhelming soften and gain perspective. Sacred stillness allows you to see beyond the immediate pressures of life, connecting you to a rhythm that is both eternal and deeply personal. It is in stillness that your spirit can speak to you, that guidance from God becomes discernible, and that personal growth is no longer an abstract idea but a lived experience. Many try to fill every empty moment with activity, believing that busyness equals progress. They scroll endlessly, work tirelessly, and distract themselves from discomfort, yet their growth remains stagnant. Sacred stillness teaches that true power comes not from perpetual motion, but from intentional alignment. The practice of stillness strengthens your mind, sharpens your awareness, and cultivates patience, resilience, and perspective. It trains you to respond to challenges rather than react impulsively, to listen deeply rather than speak without thought, and to act with purpose rather than out of habit. Spiritual traditions have long recognized the value of sacred stillness. Jesus withdrew to quiet places to pray. Prophets and sages have meditated in solitude to receive insight. Modern neuroscience confirms that periods of focused reflection improve emotional regulation, creativity, and decision-making. When you integrate sacred stillness into your daily life, you create a sanctuary within yourself, a place that cannot be invaded by chaos, negativity, or external pressures. This sanctuary becomes the foundation for personal development because it allows you to assess your goals, reflect on your progress, and plan your actions from a position of clarity rather than anxiety. Sacred stillness is not a one-time event. It is a discipline. It requires consistency and intention. Even a few minutes a day can produce profound changes, expanding your awareness, deepening your faith, and revealing solutions that were hidden in plain sight. The most remarkable transformations often occur in silence. Ideas, insights, and breakthroughs emerge when the mind is not cluttered with distractions, when the heart is open, and when the soul is attentive. Yet the world will challenge you to remain still. Noise is constant. Urgency surrounds every moment. People may question why you take time to pause, why you do not rush, why you do not chase every opportunity immediately. This is precisely why sacred stillness is so powerful. It separates those who live reactively from those who live intentionally. Stillness is where alignment happens, where vision is clarified, and where personal development merges seamlessly with spiritual awakening. It is a sacred pause that transforms ordinary actions into extraordinary results, because each decision made after reflection carries the weight of awareness, wisdom, and purpose. The power of sacred stillness lies not in what you avoid, but in what you gain: insight, peace, clarity, and a deeper connection to the divine guidance that shapes every meaningful life. By committing to moments of stillness each day, you cultivate a life that is not dictated by chaos or distraction, but by intentionality, faith, and conscious growth. It is here, in the quiet, that your inner compass aligns fully with your path, that your soul finds its voice, and that your personal development becomes a tangible, lived experience rather than a distant aspiration. Sacred stillness is the bridge between who you are and who you were created to become. When faith meets daily habits, faith is not merely a feeling or a belief reserved for moments of crisis. It is a force that grows stronger through daily actions, repeated choices, and intentional routines. Most people separate spirituality from their everyday life, thinking that faith exists only in prayer or worship. But true transformation occurs when faith informs every small habit, every decision, and every action you take throughout the day. Daily habits are the silent architects of your life. The repeated choices you make, how you speak, think, act, and respond, shape your character, your mindset, and ultimately, your destiny. When faith is integrated into these habits, your life begins to align with a higher purpose. A simple morning prayer before starting your tasks can set the tone for clarity, patience, and focus. A deliberate act of kindness or honesty, repeated consistently, cultivates integrity and influence. Journaling reflections or recording gratitude daily strengthens your perspective, helping you see growth where before there was only frustration. Faith turns ordinary routines into spiritual exercises that empower and elevate. The challenge for most people is consistency. It is easy to start a habit with enthusiasm, but maintaining it requires intentionality, discipline, and trust that small daily actions compound into significant transformation. Yet the principle is simple. Small habits, when combined with faith, create unstoppable momentum. Spiritual habits are not limited to ritual. They are acts of alignment, choosing patience over irritation, generosity over selfishness, and courage over fear, even in mundane situations, trains your mind and heart to operate according to divine principles. This is why successful personal development and authentic spirituality cannot exist in isolation. The highest levels of growth emerge when faith meets habit, when belief becomes action, and when action is performed consistently. Habits rooted in faith also protect you from external influences. Life is unpredictable, full of challenges, pressures, and distractions designed to pull you off course. But when your daily practices are anchored in principles greater than circumstance, you develop resilience, clarity, and a sense of purpose that cannot be shaken. Consider the difference between two people with similar goals. One practices their faith daily through small, intentional habits while the other waits for inspiration, motivation, or extraordinary circumstances. Over time, the first person experiences compounding growth, spiritual alignment, and breakthroughs that feel almost miraculous, while the other struggles to find consistency, focus, or meaning. Faith transforms ordinary habits into powerful tools that shape not only your future, but also your inner world. Your mindset becomes disciplined, your heart more aligned with divine purpose, and your life gradually reflects the unseen work happening within. Habits guided by faith are also contagious. When others witness your consistency, integrity, and intentionality, they are inspired to examine their own lives, creating a ripple effect that extends beyond your personal growth. Yet the most significant impact of faith-driven habits is internal. You experience a sense of peace, purpose, and empowerment that cannot be measured externally, but is undeniable internally. You begin to understand that every small act, repeated daily, is a step toward the life you were designed to live. Each habit, no matter how small, becomes a testimony of discipline, alignment, and trust in divine guidance. The secret is intentionality. Faith alone is not enough, and action without faith lacks direction. Together they create an unbreakable rhythm that carries you through uncertainty, adversity, and doubt. The question is not whether you have enough time or resources to change your life. The question is whether you are willing to embed faith into the daily actions that already fill your day. Transformation does not wait for extraordinary circumstances. It is built quietly, steadily, habit by habit, anchored in trust and obedience to principles that transcend circumstance. As you commit to this practice, your life becomes a reflection of consistency, faithfulness, and alignment. The habits you cultivate become the bridge between who you are today and the higher, purposeful life you were created to live. Faith meets habit, habit meets transformation, and transformation becomes the natural outcome of daily choices. Aligned with divine guidance, the forgotten language of gratitude is one of the most powerful yet overlooked tools for spiritual and personal transformation. Most people treat it as a polite gesture or a fleeting thought, something to acknowledge only when life seems convenient or when blessings are obvious. But true gratitude is far deeper. It is a deliberate, conscious recognition of the value in every circumstance, every challenge, every interaction, and every moment of life. When practiced consistently, gratitude reshapes perception, rewires the mind, and opens the heart to blessings that often go unnoticed. The problem is that many people focus on what is missing, what is unfair, or what has gone wrong. This constant attention to scarcity reinforces feelings of frustration, anxiety, and dissatisfaction, creating a cycle that seems impossible to break. Gratitude interrupts this cycle. It shifts attention from lack to abundance, from complaint to awareness, and from despair to hope. Spirituality teaches that gratitude is not merely a response to blessings, but a recognition of divine presence in every aspect of life. Even trials, disappointments, and setbacks contain lessons, opportunities for growth, and hidden gifts. A person who masters the language of gratitude sees life differently. They perceive obstacles not as barriers, but as guidance, challenges as teachers, and moments of discomfort as invitations to grow stronger and wiser. This perspective does not make life easier, but it makes life richer, more meaningful, and more aligned with purpose. The practice of gratitude also strengthens faith. When you acknowledge the good in your life, no matter how small, you affirm the presence of divine providence. You begin to trust that your path is guided, that every experience has significance, and that your journey is unfolding according to a higher plan. Gratitude transforms ordinary routines into spiritual exercises. Waking up and silently appreciating your breath, your senses, or your ability to take the first step of the day becomes an act of alignment. Recognizing the lessons and difficulties, the support in relationships, and the opportunities and challenges becomes a habit that reshapes your internal world. Beyond perception, gratitude has a compounding effect on action. When you see abundance, your decisions reflect abundance. You act with generosity, patience, and clarity. Your interactions with others are filled with empathy and respect, creating a positive cycle that benefits both you and those around you. Many personal development techniques emphasize goal setting, visualization, and strategic planning. But without gratitude, these practices lack foundation. Gratitude roots growth in the present, providing a stable and fertile ground for progress while reinforcing spiritual connection. The most profound insight is that gratitude is transformative because it bridges the gap between your current reality and your desired future. It allows you to see opportunities within limitations, hope within challenges, and purpose within routine. When you adopt gratitude as a daily language, you no longer wait for circumstances to improve before feeling blessed. Instead, you recognize the inherent value in life as it is, while consciously creating the life you desire. True gratitude is intentional, reflective, and persistent. It is not dependent on feelings but on deliberate awareness. Even when life is difficult, even when progress feels slow, even when doubts emerge, gratitude anchors you, strengthens your spirit, and opens doors to insights, opportunities, and blessings that would otherwise remain invisible. Every act of gratitude is an act of faith, a conscious decision to align your perception with the truth that life, with all its complexities, holds value and meaning. In mastering this language, you cultivate a heart that is receptive, a mind that is clear, and a soul that is resilient. Gratitude is no longer a simple response. It becomes a guiding principle, a filter through which every experience is interpreted and every choice is made. The more consistently you practice it, the more your life begins to reflect the depth, abundance, and spiritual alignment that you have long sought. It is in gratitude that ordinary living transforms into extraordinary living, and the invisible threads of divine purpose begin to weave through every aspect of your existence. Breaking the myth of self-sufficiency, modern society often glorifies independence, self-reliance, and the idea that success comes solely from one's own effort. From a young age, we are taught to believe that asking for help is weakness, that relying on others is a failure, and that the measure of our worth is how much we can achieve alone. Yet, the truth is far different. The belief in total self-sufficiency is a myth, a trap that isolates, burdens, and ultimately limits growth. Human beings are designed for connection, guidance, and interdependence. This principle applies not only to relationships with others, but to our relationship with God, our inner guidance, and the invisible forces of spiritual alignment. Those who insist on walking alone carry unnecessary weight. They exhaust themselves chasing outcomes while ignoring the resources, wisdom, and support that are naturally available. They underestimate the power of mentorship, community, and divine assistance. Spirituality teaches that dependence is not weakness, it is wisdom. When you recognize your need for guidance, support, and alignment with higher principles, you unlock strength that surpasses anything you could achieve alone. Self-sufficiency blinds us to the subtle ways the universe and God provide direction, opportunity, and protection. It makes us reactive, defensive, and fearful, constantly trying to control circumstances instead of flowing with the rhythm of purpose. Breaking the myth begins with awareness. Notice how often pride, fear, or stubbornness prevents you from asking for help, admitting mistakes, or receiving wisdom. These barriers limit personal development, stunt spiritual growth, and keep potential unfulfilled. The courageous step is to embrace interdependence without losing authenticity or self-respect. Seeking guidance from mentors, prayer, meditation, and trusted communities is an acknowledgement of your responsibility to align with truth and purpose, not a concession of inadequacy. True strength emerges when you combine personal effort with openness to external wisdom and divine guidance. It is the balance of action and receptivity that produces extraordinary results. Those who walk this path find that life becomes more manageable, decisions become clearer, and challenges become opportunities for growth rather than burdens to bear alone. Beyond personal growth, breaking the myth of self-sufficiency deepens relationships. Vulnerability, humility, and collaboration foster trust, empathy, and mutual support, creating networks of people who elevate each other rather than compete or drain energy. Spiritually, it aligns with the principle that we are not solitary entities. We are part of a greater plan. By relinquishing the illusion of total control, you open space for divine intervention, guidance, and insight that cannot come through effort alone. This does not negate responsibility. Action is still essential. But action guided by wisdom, faith, and community produces exponentially greater results than isolated effort. The challenge lies in shifting mindset. Pride, ego, and fear resist reliance on anything outside oneself. Overcoming this resistance requires courage, reflection, and faith that strength is amplified, not diminished, through connection, mentorship, and spiritual alignment. Breaking free from self-sufficiency does not mean surrendering initiative. It means recognizing that life's greatest victories are rarely achieved alone. Those who integrate this principle experience a sense of relief, empowerment, and freedom. Burdens that once felt insurmountable are shared. Insights that were invisible become visible. And confidence grows not from arrogance, but from alignment with purpose, principle, and support. The liberation that comes from rejecting the myth of self-sufficiency is profound. You begin to see that strength is measured not by isolation, but by the ability to integrate personal effort, spiritual guidance, and supportive relationships into a cohesive force for growth. This awareness transforms both the internal and external life. You no longer carry unnecessary weight. Your decisions gain clarity, and your potential expands in ways you never imagined. True empowerment is not solitary. It is the art of harmonizing your abilities with guidance, connection, and divine wisdom. Self-sufficiency is a myth, but embracing interdependence is the path to extraordinary personal and spiritual transformation. The shadows. We refuse to face. Within each of us lies a shadow, a collection of fears, unresolved pain, regrets, and hidden desires that we refuse to face. Most people spend their lives running from these shadows, hiding behind routines, distractions, or superficial positivity, pretending that avoidance is the same as healing. But the shadows do not disappear because we ignore them. They shape our choices, influence our behavior, and limit our potential in ways we often fail to recognize. The first step toward personal and spiritual growth is acknowledgement. Facing the shadow requires courage, honesty, and humility. It means looking at the parts of ourselves that we are uncomfortable with, the anger we deny, the envy we disguise, the mistakes we refuse to own, and the insecurities that quietly dictate our actions. Spiritual traditions emphasize that light cannot shine without darkness. The shadow is not evil. It is information, a mirror reflecting aspects of our psyche that need attention, understanding, and integration. Denial strengthens it, causing patterns of self-sabotage, repeated mistakes, and relational conflicts. Many spiritual seekers try to bypass this process, thinking that growth is achieved by focusing only on positive habits, inspirational teachings, or external achievements. While these are valuable, they cannot replace the work of confronting what lies hidden. Personal development demands that we walk into discomfort, sit with it, and extract insight, just as faith teaches that trials are opportunities to refine character. Shadow work is not about self-condemnation. It is about understanding the truth of who you are. It requires asking difficult questions. Why do I react this way? What am I afraid to admit? Which habits are protecting me from facing reality? Each question, though uncomfortable, opens the door to liberation. The shadow holds power because it operates unconsciously. It manipulates choices subtly, creating anxiety, frustration, or destructive patterns without obvious cause. By bringing awareness to these hidden forces, you reclaim agency, turning unseen influence into conscious choice. Spirituality provides a unique lens through which to confront the shadow. It frames fear, regret, and weakness not as condemnation, but as invitations to trust, surrender, and realignment with divine truth. As you confront your shadow, you discover that your fears are often exaggerated illusions, your regrets are lessons, and your perceived weaknesses can be transformed into strengths. This process reshapes identity. You no longer define yourself solely by past mistakes, limitations, or insecurities. You integrate your experiences, acknowledge your humanity, and step into a fuller expression of self, anchored in faith, wisdom, and courage. The shadows you face become teachers, guiding you to clarity, empathy, and resilience. They illuminate patterns that, once recognized, can be changed, releasing energy previously trapped in avoidance or resistance. Facing the shadow also deepens spiritual intimacy. In moments of reflection and prayer, confronting what is hidden allows divine insight to illuminate the path forward. It bridges personal development and spirituality, showing that growth is not just about skill acquisition or achievement, but about authentic transformation of mind, heart, and soul. The challenge is persistence. Shadows are patient. They re-emerge when avoidance resumes. Growth requires daily awareness, self-reflection, and the discipline to address issues before they gain momentum. Yet, the rewards are profound. As shadows are acknowledged and integrated, confidence grows, relationships improve, creativity flourishes, and life begins to unfold with a sense of freedom and purpose previously obscured. Ultimately, the shadows we refuse to face are not our enemies. They are the gateway to self-mastery, spiritual depth, and personal empowerment. When we step courageously into the darkness within, we illuminate our own path, reclaim hidden energy, and transform obstacles into opportunities. Avoidance perpetuates limitation. Confrontation unlocks the fullness of potential. To ignore the shadows is to remain small. To face them is to step into the life you were meant to live. Transformation begins where courage meets honesty, where faith meets reflection, and where the light of awareness touches the parts of us we once feared. Rewriting your story. With eternal truths, every person carries a story, a narrative about who they are, what they deserve, and what life will allow them to achieve. For many, this story is written unconsciously, shaped by past experiences, societal expectations, failures, and the judgments of others. The problem is that most of these narratives are incomplete, distorted, or limiting. They tell you that you are not enough, that success is impossible, or that happiness is reserved for someone else. The truth is that these stories are not permanent. They can be rewritten. Spirituality and personal development converge here, offering tools to reshape your narrative in alignment with eternal truths, divine guidance, and your authentic self. Rewriting your story begins with awareness. You must first recognize the narratives that unconsciously control your thoughts, emotions, and actions. Which beliefs about yourself are inherited from childhood? Which fears have been amplified by failure or disappointment? Which lies have you accepted as truth because others told them repeatedly? Awareness is the first step, because until you see the story clearly, you cannot change it. The next step is choosing intentionally. Every day you have the power to select thoughts, beliefs, and actions that reinforce a story of strength, purpose, and possibility. Faith teaches that God's truth transcends circumstances and external validation. By aligning your narrative with these eternal truths, you create a foundation for decisions, habits, and relationships that serve growth rather than limit it. Rewriting your story also requires courage. Old narratives often feel safe even when they constrain you. They are familiar, predictable, and reinforced by comfort zones. Change demands facing uncertainty, stepping into new patterns, and trusting that divine guidance and personal integrity will lead you to a higher version of yourself. The power of language is essential in this process. How you speak to yourself shapes what you believe and what you will pursue. Replace phrases of limitation with declarations of faith and capability. Turn self-criticism into constructive reflection. Speak of possibilities instead of past failures. Every thought reinforced by conscious language begins to alter your reality. Spiritual truths provide the framework for this transformation. You are not defined by circumstances, past mistakes, or others' opinions. You are a creation capable of growth, resilience, and purpose. These truths are eternal, unchanging, and available to guide every decision and every action. Rewriting your story is not about denial or fantasy. It is about integration. It is acknowledging past challenges, learning from them, and consciously choosing a narrative that reflects your authentic self and your divine purpose. This practice affects every aspect of life: relationships, work, personal growth, and spirituality. Your interactions, choices, and habits begin to reflect the story you are intentionally creating. Over time, the narrative becomes embodied. Your identity aligns with your values, beliefs, and purpose. The limiting stories fade, replaced by a coherent, empowering, and expansive understanding of yourself. Challenges become chapters of growth, failures become lessons of wisdom, and obstacles transform into opportunities for divine alignment. Rewriting your story also inspires others. As you embody faith, resilience, and clarity, you naturally influence those around you, creating ripples of transformation in families, communities, and even broader spheres of influence. The ultimate realization is that the pen is in your hand. You are the author of your narrative, the architect of your life, and the steward of your growth. Spiritual alignment and personal development provide the tools, but action and intention are required to rewrite effectively. Every choice you make, every habit you form, and every thought you nurture contributes to the chapters ahead. The story you once believed to be fixed can now be transformed into a narrative of purpose, courage, and spiritual fulfillment. Eternal truths offer a blueprint, but it is your engagement, faith, and consistency that breathe life into the new story. To rewrite your story is to reclaim your identity, redirect your life, and embrace a path of possibility that transcends fear, limitation, and past experiences. It is a conscious decision to step into a reality defined not by what has been, but by what is possible when you align with divine wisdom and personal intention. Embracing the invisible forces of growth is rarely visible in the moment. Often, the most significant changes happen quietly, behind the scenes, in ways we cannot immediately measure or perceive. These invisible forces, discipline, faith, consistency, reflection, and unseen spiritual alignment, shape the trajectory of our lives far more than external achievements or recognition. Many people focus solely on visible results, promotions, wealth, accolades, or social approval. They chase outcomes, believing that success is defined externally. Yet, these achievements without inner alignment often bring emptiness, dissatisfaction, or temporary relief. True and lasting growth emerges when we recognize and embrace the invisible forces at work. Discipline shapes habits before it shapes results. Faith sustains us before we see answers. Reflection reveals patterns before opportunities manifest. These forces are subtle, persistent, and often overlooked because they do not produce immediate gratification. Embracing them requires patience, awareness, and trust in processes that cannot always be seen. Spirituality teaches that alignment with divine principles, even in unseen moments, generates outcomes that transcend human understanding. Personal development reinforces this by emphasizing that consistent effort, reflection, and resilience compound over time, creating exponential change that is initially invisible. The invisible forces of growth also require surrender. We cannot control every external factor, and the universe, or God, often operates through unseen mechanisms that guide, teach, and redirect. Trying to force results or control outcomes before the necessary inner work is done leads to frustration, burnout, and misalignment. Those who embrace these forces understand that what is unseen is often more powerful than what is seen. The development of patience, integrity, courage, humility, and self-awareness occurs quietly, producing a foundation that supports extraordinary transformation when the right moments arrive. Moreover, invisible growth forces shape perception. When we invest in mindset, spiritual alignment, and inner resilience, we notice opportunities, make wiser decisions, and respond with composure under pressure. Our influence expands, not because of what we loudly proclaim, but because of the alignment of character, vision, and action that becomes visible over time. Embracing these forces also strengthens faith in the unseen. Just as seeds grow beneath the soil before sprouting above ground, the work done internally and spiritually lays the groundwork for visible results. Each choice aligned with principle, each habit rooted in discipline, and each act guided by faith contributes to a cumulative force that shapes destiny. Many give up too early, judging their progress by what is immediately observable. Yet, life's most profound transformations are often invisible until they reach critical mass, emerging suddenly as clarity, opportunity, or breakthrough. Recognizing this, we begin to act differently. We prioritize consistency over urgency, alignment over appearance, and faith over doubt. We understand that the unseen work done today determines the quality of tomorrow. Invisible forces also teach resilience. Challenges, setbacks, and delays are not failures, but signals that growth is occurring beneath the surface. Each obstacle strengthens resolve, refines skill, and deepens spiritual maturity. By embracing these forces, we cultivate patience, trust, and inner strength that cannot be shaken by temporary circumstances. Ultimately, the invisible forces of growth demand intentional awareness. We must choose to see, trust, and act in alignment with what cannot be immediately measured. By doing so, we position ourselves to receive the results that reflect not only effort, but wisdom, integrity, and spiritual alignment. Life begins to flow with a sense of inevitability, not because outcomes are guaranteed, but because the inner foundation has been laid for consistent, sustainable, and meaningful expansion. Embracing these forces transforms not only what we achieve, but who we become. It shapes character, deepens faith, and ensures that success is not fleeting, but grounded in principles that endure beyond circumstance. Growth is a quiet, invisible force. Those who respect, cultivate, and embrace it discover that the most extraordinary transformations are often hidden until the moment they are revealed, and by then they are undeniable, powerful, and life-changing. Awakening to your life's full potential, every person is born with potential far greater than they often realize. Yet, most live constrained by fear, doubt, societal expectations, and habits that quietly limit their growth. Awakening to your full potential is not about sudden success, material gain, or external recognition. It is about recognizing the unique combination of gifts, purpose, and divine alignment within you, and taking deliberate steps to bring them into expression. The first step is awareness. You must acknowledge the areas where your life is being held back. Patterns, limiting beliefs, distractions, or unresolved pain. Awareness does not condemn, it empowers. By seeing clearly where you are, you gain the power to choose where you want to go. The next step is action. Potential remains dormant unless it is activated through consistent effort, courage, and alignment with principles that foster growth. Faith becomes a guiding force, providing the confidence to take steps that may seem uncertain, but are necessary for expansion. Awakening to your potential also requires releasing resistance. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, and fear of the unknown are natural barriers that keep many from stepping into the life they were created to live. Spirituality teaches that surrendering these fears to a higher purpose unlocks strength and clarity that cannot be accessed through willpower alone. Personal development complements this by providing tools, strategies, and habits that transform intention into results. Every small intentional action compounds, gradually reshaping circumstances, mindset, and abilities. Potential is realized not in a single moment, but through daily choices that align with purpose, integrity, and vision. Another crucial aspect is self-belief. The world will often question, doubt, or even discourage your aspirations. Awakening to potential requires cultivating unwavering trust in your inherent value, your gifts, and your unique path. Faith and personal development intersect here, reminding you that external limitations do not define your inner capacity. As awareness, action, and belief converge, you begin to notice shifts. Confidence replaces hesitation, clarity replaces confusion, and opportunities emerge where none seemed possible. These are signs that your potential is unfolding, guided by consistent effort, alignment with truth, and openness to growth. Awakening to potential also means embracing responsibility. It is not enough to recognize your gifts. You must steward them wisely, contribute positively, and act with intention. Growth without responsibility can become empty, misaligned, or disconnected from purpose. Spiritual principles emphasize that your potential is intertwined with contribution. Your gifts are meant to serve, inspire, and transform not only your life, but the lives of others. This awakening is not linear. There will be challenges, setbacks, and moments of doubt. Yet, each obstacle is an opportunity to refine skills, strengthen faith, and deepen understanding. Persistence in the face of adversity is often the defining factor between dormant potential and extraordinary achievement. Finally, awakening to your life's full potential is an ongoing journey. It is the conscious choice to step daily into alignment, to cultivate habits that reflect your values, to embrace challenges as lessons, and to trust that your path is guided by divine wisdom. When you commit to this process, life transforms. You move with purpose, act with clarity, and contribute with meaning. Your impact expands, and the world becomes a reflection of the growth occurring within you. Remember, your potential is not a distant dream. It exists now, waiting for acknowledgement, courage, and deliberate action. Every thought, habit, and choice either nurtures it or diminishes it. By awakening to your potential, you step into a life of fulfillment, purpose, and spiritual alignment, embodying the truth that you were created not to exist quietly, but to flourish, transform, and leave a legacy that echoes far beyond the present moment. By awakening to your full potential, you not only transform your own life, but also become a source of inspiration and transformation for those around you. Every conscious choice, every purpose-aligned habit, and every faith-guided step builds a life of meaning, fulfillment, and lasting impact. Remember that true change begins within you, and what you sow today will be reflected in tomorrow's harvest. If you felt this content brought clarity, motivation, and faith to your journey, do something simple yet powerful. Subscribe to the channel to receive more videos that will strengthen your spirituality and personal development. Like this video so more people have access to this message, and share it with someone who needs to hear these words today. By doing so, you not only connect with the transformation you're seeking, but also help spread light and inspiration to others. Continue on this journey of growth, keep your faith active, and remember, your potential is limitless when you connect it with purpose, discipline, and spirituality.